Discover the incredible moment a shy girl accidentally swapped coffee and it changed everything. Emma stood behind the counter of Maplewood's cozy coffee shop, her fingers trembling slightly as she poured steaming water over the ground coffee. The scent of roasted beans filled the air, an intoxicating aroma that usually soothed her nerves, yet today it felt suffocating as the weight of her family's expectations pressed down on her. They wanted so much: a lawyer, a doctor, a success story, but all she dreamed of were vibrant hues and the stroke of a paintbrush against canvas. Instead, she felt tethered to the espresso machine, a barista caught in the grind of life. As she fumbled with a plain cup, she mistakenly picked up a colorful artisan brew. A moment later, she glanced up and locked eyes with Jake, his polished appearance starkly contrasting with the humble surroundings. He had an air of sophistication that made her stomach twist, blending anxiety with fleeting intrigue. She extended the cup toward him, their fingers brushing momentarily before he stepped back, surprised. "I think that's mine," he smiled, glancing at his own drink across the counter as they exchanged cups. While they waited, something uncharacteristic sparked between them, and Emma found herself sharing thoughts about the artwork hanging on the wall. Her heart raced as she spoke about the piece's emotional layers, feeling unguarded in his presence. Jake was clearly intrigued, perhaps he saw something in her that he was desperately missing in his own life. Yet as they conversed, insecurities crept up like shadows threatening to swallow her whole. With every word exchanged, the unspoken barriers of class loomed over them. His tailored suit and confident demeanor felt a million miles away from Emma's worn jeans and quiet world of paints. Before she could fully process it, an unsettling realization twisted her gut. Did Jake truly understand her life, her struggles? Their conversation swayed from ambition to dreams, but each compliment he gave caused a pang of doubt. Was it possible he saw value in her creativity, or was he merely fulfilling some philanthropic fantasy about rescuing the damsel in distress? "Look, Emma," Jake said, lowering his voice, "you have to showcase your art. You have talent." His insistence startled her. What would her parents think if she pursued a dream so different from their path for her? Part of her yearned to take flight, to embrace this newfound connection, yet the fear of disappointing her family loomed like a dark cloud. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emma's breath hitched with a mix of hope and dread. Each moment brought her closer to a choice, one that demanded courage she didn't think she possessed. The day of her exhibition loomed ahead, a stark reminder of her dreams hanging by a fragile thread. But as she stood in her grandmother's attic, bent over a dusty box, she uncovered forgotten brushes and canvases, a legacy of an artist in her blood. Yet it was also a dark day when she learned of Jake's decisions impacting Maplewood's coffee shop, a choice that now felt like a knife twisting in her back. Would confronting him ignite a battle of loyalties? Or, would she once again retreat into the shadows of self-doubt? As turmoil clouded her judgment, one question thundered in her mind: could she find her own voice while keeping the ties to her family? With Jake's growing influence threatening everything she held dear, Emma stood at the crossroads of ambition and loyalty, desperate to navigate a path that wouldn't lead to her own undoing. The attic felt suffocating, every corner filled with memories of a life she was starting to question. As Emma sorted through her grandmother's belongings, the weight of uncertainty pressed down on her. Each brush she uncovered felt like a whisper of encouragement, a calling to embrace her artistic side, yet the anxiety of her family's expectations mirrored that of her cluttered surroundings. What if she chose the paint over the path laid out for her? A profound silence enveloped her thoughts, amplifying the thumping of her heart. There was a choice to be made between the bursting colors of creativity and the grayscale of a conventional life. Emma cradled a brush as if it were a lifeline, contemplating how it had shaped her childhood, how it had given her identity. A flicker of embers ignited within her, yet every ember was swiftly doused by the fear of judgment and the looming reality of Jake's influence. She could hear her mother's voice distantly echoing in her head, "Art doesn't pay the bills, Emma." Each word carved deeper into her mind, reinforcing the path she felt forced to follow. Yet as she turned the brush in her fingers, something shifted. Maybe Jake was right, perhaps she did have talent. The realization sent waves of exhilaration and trepidation crashing through her. What if she dared to expose her works as secret pleasures she had always kept hidden? Emma placed the brush back into its rightful spot, but it felt like a battle was brewing within her. Her mind spun with conflicting thoughts. Deciding to showcase her art could either be the beginning of self-actualization or a recipe for heartbreak. A nagging sensation pulled at her thoughts. What if Jake shared her passion? Was there a chance he could guide her through this maze of choices? Or was this connection only temporary, here to shimmer and fade with the light of day? With a heavier heart, she pushed herself back to the present, choosing to focus on the coffee shop. A sanctuary filled with warmth and creativity. At least, it had been until Jake's decision threatened to transform it into something unfamiliar. As a barista, she found solace in each latte art she poured, but to know Jake was responsible for restricting its thriving spirit left a bitter taste. Confrontation felt inevitable. So many have walked away from her dreams. What if Jake's choices led to her ultimate undoing? But did she have the courage to stand and voice her fears? The thought filled her with a rush of anxiety and determination. Each day that passed brought her closer to standing up, no longer just a barista hidden behind a counter, but a woman prepared to claim her narrative. Emma made up her mind, she would confront Jake and lay bare her sentiments, drawing from the strength she discovered in her grandmother's attic. Failure or success, it was her moment to embrace honesty. As the evening sun cast a golden glow over Maplewood, Emma found her resolve seeping into her veins. She would not only seek her truth but also take the risk of inviting Jake into the chaos of her world. The question of how to navigate the complexities of ambition, art, and loyalty now pulsed loudly in her mind. It was set tomorrow, she would face Jake, the charm of their last conversation igniting a flicker of hope. Standing on the precipice of this personal upheaval, a single thought blazed through her mind: would this choice lead her to the freedom she yearned for, or would it bind her in a new web of doubt? The realization made her pulse quicken. The past was merely the canvas, and tomorrow could be the brilliant stroke that transformed her life forever. But first, she had to embrace it all alongside its uncertainty. Emma leaned against the attic wall, bracing herself for what lay ahead. Would her voice be strong enough in the end, or would fear silence her aspirations once again? The morning sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow on her workspace as Emma took a deep breath, straightening herself against the kitchen counter. Today was the day she would confront Jake, and the anticipation thrummed in her veins, invigorating yet unsettling. She brewed the coffee with precision, focused on the time-worn ritual that had always brought her comfort. Each movement felt like the calm before a storm, a grounding act in the midst of her swirling thoughts. She poured the steaming liquid into a cup, the rich aroma clasping around her like an embrace. With the cup in hand, her mind drifted briefly to the attic, and the brushes that had nurtured her dreams. Maybe, just maybe, today she would find her courage to turn those dreams into reality. When Jake stepped through the door, a whirlwind of energy followed him, as always. The light-hearted banter that seemed effortless between them felt painfully absent today, replaced by an electric tension that made Emma acutely aware of their disconnect. His smile faltered momentarily as he caught a glimpse of her serious demeanor. "Hey, Em. You look intense. Everything okay?" he asked, concern flickering in his eyes. "Yeah. Actually, there's something I want to discuss," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She placed the coffee cup on the counter, forcing herself to meet his gaze head-on. "It's about the shop and the changes you're making." Jake's brows knitted together, an expression of both curiosity and apprehension crossing his face. What changes? It's just the new menu items. We need to keep things fresh, you know. That S nodded, she started, her heart racing. You're losing what makes this place special. The art, the atmosphere, it's slipping away. It feels like you're transforming it into something corporate. You're stifling creativity. Are you serious? The shock in his voice struck her like a jolt. I'm trying to make this work. What about the connection we had with the community? The support from local artists? She leaned forward, the heat rising in her chest. You're trading it all for something that feels fake. And I'm scared, Jake. I feel like it's a reflection of what could happen to me too, if I let it. Silence hung heavy between them, the air thick with unspoken words. Jake recalibrated, an emotion flitting across his face that she couldn't decipher. Was it defensiveness, realization, or something wholly different? He hesitated before responding, the tension shifting as he searched her face. You're really invested in this, aren't you? Of course. This place means everything to me. And I'm sorry if I let my art take a back seat, it's just I'm struggling to find my voice in all of this, Emma confessed, vulnerability creeping into her voice. I'm not just a barista. I want to be heard, and I want this shop to feel alive, to be a space where art and community thrive. Why didn't you tell me sooner? His words came out softer, less combative, drawing her in. I thought you were on board with the changes. I didn't have the courage to speak up, Emma admitted, her hands trembling slightly. I feared what it would mean for you, for us. Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair, the understanding between them shifting. Something softened in his expression, eliciting a glimmer of hope within her. Let us find a way to compromise. We can look into local artists to feature each month. I want to hear your ideas. Really? Emma's heart leaped at the suggestion, the air between them crackling with new possibility. Absolutely. But I need you to share your dreams with me, Emma. I can't navigate this alone. As they stood across from each other, Emma felt a flicker of excitement replace her nervous trepidation. The path to her own creative identity was beginning to illuminate just as the sun rose higher in the sky, the warmth wrapping around her. But even in that moment of blossoming understanding, a nagging voice echoed in her mind. Could she truly trust him to support her ambitions? Would they both be able to navigate the complexities of art and loyalty, or was this only the beginning of a deeper conflict? Emma gazed into Jake's eyes, the spark of resolve igniting again, feeling the urge to push more boundaries. The conversation was taking a turn, but the journey ahead promised to be far from straightforward. The stakes had risen, and she wasn't done yet. Let's South make this place ours again, she said with renewed vigor, heart racing for what was still left unsaid. As they began to rebuild the bridge between ambition and affection, a question loomed over her thoughts. Was she brave enough to reshape her life, not just for the cafe, but also for her art? Tomorrow, she would have to dive deeper. The next day dawned bright and hopeful, a stark contrast to the restless night Emma had spent wrestling with her thoughts. Clarity washed over her in waves, and with it came a newfound determination. She brewed her morning coffee, each aroma-laden puff infusing her with confidence, the ritual now transformed into a prelude to action, a canvas waiting for paint. Emma had come to a resolution. She wouldn't just suggest artistic changes for the cafe, she would execute them. The attic where her dreams lay dormant whispered to her, beckoning her to dig deeper, to unearth the fire that had once burned so brightly within her. As she prepared for another day at the shop, the notion of reinvention blossomed into a plan. With a notebook in hand, she settled at a corner table, the sun flooding in from the window. Her mind raced as she jotted down ideas: exhibits showcasing local artists, open mic nights for aspiring musicians, an art wall expressing the shop's spirit. No idea felt too grand. Each stroke of her pen was a declaration, a promise to herself to build a space echoing creativity rather than conformity. But doubt nestled in the corners of her mind. Would Jake truly support these changes? Would he trust her vision enough to shift the shop's direction? These questions coiled tight in her stomach, a reminder of the uncertainty that still loomed over their partnership. As she took a sip of her coffee, the familiar liquid slid down her throat, a warmth radiated inside her, solidifying her resolve. Later that morning, Emma found herself pacing in the shop's narrow back alley, waiting for Jake to arrive, each moment feeling elongated with anticipation. The sound of the door jingled behind her, and her heart sped up. "Hey, Em." Jake greeted, a bright smile painting his face, though she couldn't shake the feeling that it was the same smile that masked his uncertainty. She motioned him over, her resolve hardening with every beat of her heart. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice steady. "Sure. What's up?" His posture shifted from casual to attentive. Taking a deep breath, she plunged into her ideas, each suggestion falling from her lips with an urgency fueled by her sleepless night. She described a vibrant gallery that could showcase local talent, a hub for expression that would invite both new and familiar faces. Jake's brow furrowed, and Emma's enthusiasm hit a snag as she observed his reaction. "Emma, I love your passion, but are you sure this is feasible? Changing the shop so drastically? It could affect our profits." The air thickened with tension as Emma sensed the challenge laid bare before her. Fear crept into her veins, reminding her of past failures. Yet, beneath that, a defiance bubbled within her. But isn't art worth the risk? This shop could be more than just a place to grab coffee. It could foster connections, ignite creativity, she argued, her fists clenched. Silence fell between them as Jake's expression shifted, weighing her words against his initial apprehensions. The foundation of their partnership was being tested, and as he contemplated her vision, Emma realized this was her defining moment. This wasn't about the shop alone, it was about carving her space in the world, proving she could stand her ground. "Okay," Jake finally said, voice lowered. "What if we start small? One art piece a month? We'll see how it goes." Emma's pulse quickened, she couldn't suppress the joy that surged within her. "Yes. We can also include open mic nights, do pop-up events." She could see a flicker of interest in his eyes, their shared enthusiasm illuminating the possibilities. But deep down, she was aware this was only the beginning. A decision loomed large: could she fully embrace her role as a leader while supporting Jake's vision too? As they began sketching out a plan on paper, Emma caught a fleeting thought: would any resistance from the community threaten the fragile balance they were building? The more they ventured into this partnership of dreams and growth, the more the stakes would rise. "Let's start with a soft launch next month," she admitted, her heart racing with excitement and dread twist-fighting beneath her calm exterior. The mere thought of inviting others to witness her vision ignited a blend of exhilaration and fear. Emma knew now that the path forward was lined with obstacles both external and internal. And as she looked into Jake's eyes, fresh resolve forged in the fire of uncertainty, she wondered, was her voice truly ready to resonate in a place defining who she was? Her heart pounded, thoughts swirling, as she took a deep breath, ready to take the next leap into the unknown. But would her passion be enough to ignite change, or would she find herself silenced once more? Emma stood at the precipice of her ambitions, a swirl of emotions approaching like dark clouds on the horizon. The notebook in front of her was a mosaic of ideas, yet she couldn't help but feel that each word she'd written was both a step forward and a weight tethering her to her uncertainties. The thrill of her new direction battled against the memories of past interactions where her voice had been stifled or ignored. The risk of disappointment loomed, threatening to overshadow her hard-won confidence. She glanced at Jake, who was now scribbling notes beside her. "Are you serious about this?" he asked, after a long pause. Emma could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes. It was a mixture of protective caution and genuine concern, a reflection of their dynamic from the very beginning. "Completely," Emma replied fervently, though that inner turmoil still echoed. What if he wasn't ready for the leap she wanted to make? Would he view her aspirations as mere distractions, as a whimsical detour from their established rhythm? "All right, let us detail what this could look like," he suggested, and Emma felt a phoenix riser awakening inside her. This was not just about the cafe, it was about transforming herself. As they laid out a plan, Emma envisioned long tables laden with artwork, walls bursting with color, and an audience that lingered chatting, laughing, sharing. But the thought of stepping into the light, of exposing her creative ideas and, by extension, a part of herself, clawed at her stomach. They spent hours discussing logistics, pricing, promotion, and other details as Emma's fervor propelled her forward. With each tactical decision they made together, she leaned into her role, relishing the cooperation, yet feeling the weight of the endeavor. The success would hinge on her ability to inspire others collectively with her vision, a test she had long shied away from. When the conversation turned toward budgets, Emma hesitated again. "If we cut back on the overhead, we can allocate more resources to the art," she suggested tentatively. Jake's brows knitted together, clearly wrestling with the concept. "Or we could risk losing more by underestimating what we need for the changes," he countered, his tone wary. Each clash pushed her to assess her integrity in this new space. Could she stand firm and negotiate without alienating her partner? The subtle dance of vision versus practicality weighed heavily. Was she prepared to advocate for her ideas consistently? A part of Emma felt terror rising. She had always been deferential. "Maybe we can combine the ideas, showcase a local artist at the same time as we host our first open mic," she proposed, a strategy born from their conversation's tensions. Jake's eyes brightened lightly, and she felt a sideways glance of genuine appreciation. "See, that could work. It's not just about coffee, it's an experience." The realization settled over her like a warm blanket. She was evolving right in front of her own eyes, exchanging the passive role she had inhabited for the active pursuit of her goals. But with this growth came heightened stakes, and Emma felt the pressure mount. As they finalized their plans for the soft launch, Emma's heart raced. Would she remain composed when presenting this new home for creativity? Would her ideas resonate, or would they expose her vulnerabilities? In the stillness after their marathon session, Emma felt her resolve strengthen. They had created something foundational together, and for the first time in a while, she didn't see failure as the only ending. But as the date for their initiative closed in, doubts crept back in like tangled weeds from a garden left unattended. She couldn't shake the lingering fear of her past resurfacing. How would their community react to this shift? This question haunted her as they wrapped up for the day. "So, are we ready?" Jake asked, his excitement palpable. "I think so," she replied, though her voice wavered slightly. Emma had to confront that question, the relentless anxiety that plagued every calculated move. Walking home, the night air cool and heavy with promise, she realized that true growth required resilience. It was her moment to not only step into a new reality but to define what that meant, to lift her voice above the noise. Would she rise to the occasion, or would she retreat into safety and silence once more? She took a deep breath, embracing the reality that this was a beginning, where the determination to uphold her vision battled with her fear of rejection. The next chapter promised to reveal whether Emma could, indeed, reinvent not just the cafe but her place within it. Would the risk she had taken bolster her newfound resolve, or would the weight of doubt overwhelm her aspirations entirely? As the days ticked down to the launch, Emma found herself grappling with an oppressive mix of anticipation and dread. Each sunrise illuminated her growing list of tasks, but with every item she checked off, her self-doubt seemed to expand like a balloon on the verge of popping. She caught herself in the bathroom mirror, examining the shadows under her eyes that remained despite her attempts to push through. Her heart pounded as the soft hum of everyday life buzzed outside her window, life that she could now feel was both within her grasp and dangerously distant. It began with small incidents that shook her resolve. When she approached the chalkboard to practice a welcoming message for their launch, the words clashed violently between her brain and her tongue. "Welcome to the art of coffee," she tried out loud, her fingers trembling as she gripped the chalk. But the phrase hung in the air, flat and uninviting. The fear sunk in. Was that all she could muster? She left the board untouched, a testament to her faltering confidence. In the midst of her doubts, she decided to revisit her notebook, hoping the pages brimming with ideas would ignite something within her again. But all she saw were scribbles made by a girl who felt like a fading ghost, struggling to manifest the dream lurking in her heart. Her ambition felt like a frail ember in a gusty storm. Was she just kidding herself? At the cafe, Jake remained a steadfast presence. His enthusiasm poured out in bursts as he prepped the space, but Emma found it increasingly hard to match his energy. She watched him hang art pieces, his hands steady and confident, while she wrestled with her thoughts. "How do you do it?" she asked him one afternoon, frustration peeking through her tone. "Do what?" he replied, sweat glistening on his brow. "Believe so easily in all of this." She gestured to the vibrant paintings and warm lights. "Don't you worry?" "Of course I do," he replied, pausing to meet her gaze. "But I've learned that worry is just a signal to prepare better, not to pull back." His words settled within her like a gentle nudge. That evening, alone at home, Emma mulled over the concept of preparation. It made sense yet felt inadequate to quell her encroaching anxiety. She mulled over her last hesitant interaction with Jake. His honesty about his struggles encouraged her, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't anticipated. Perhaps she was not as alone as she assumed. The night before their launch, she sat, poised with her notebook. It was time to confront the fear that had woven itself into the very fabric of her aspirations. She began a new page. "What if I could be bold?" she wrote. As she penned down her fears and possible solutions, her heart raced with excitement. The act of creation was exhilarating, and with each sentence, she found a thread of resolve weaving through her doubt. She found herself planning not just a welcome speech but a narrative she could live and breathe. Her mind surged with ideas as she finalized the concept of the open mic night, blending personal artistry with the experience she aimed to cultivate. It was no longer simply about the cafe or an artistic space, it became a sanctuary where her voice could shine, resonating with others who shared similar experiences. As she drafted that speech, the clock struck midnight. Each word articulated a pulse of vitality, and for the first time, Emma felt like she was reclaiming her story instead of merely observing it. She meditated on the crux of her journey, revealing herself through her art and allowing others to do the same by sharing their own truths. Yet, as she drifted into sleep, a new worry nestled itself in her mind. What if, despite her hard work, the response was tepid or worse, dismissive? Emma tossed and turned, the fear of rejection haunting her. Would her newfound strength falter under the weight of others' perceptions? As the morning sun broke through the horizon, illuminating her room, she bolstered her resolve. A mere act of belief would not suffice. The true measure of her growth would be woven into her willingness to embrace vulnerability and adapt. Would she step onto that stage as a new version of herself, or would she let her lingering self-doubt dictate her actions? With a deep breath, Emma faced the day that held her future. Would she unveil her bold new vision, or would she retreat, allowing age-old fears to steal her moment once more? The uncertainty loomed, and somewhere deep down, Emma felt a flicker ignite within her, urging her to confront everything. Emma stood in front of the cafe's expansive window, peering out at the world that bustled just beyond the glass. The morning sun spilled through, illuminating the wooden floors and casting playful shadows on the walls, but all she could focus on was the churning in her stomach. Today was the launch day, a day she had envisioned countless times and yet found herself struggling to fully embrace. Jake entered the cafe, a bundle of energy with a smile that seemed unshakable. "Ready for the big day?" he asked, his excitement ringing in the air like wind chimes. The enthusiasm was infectious, but Emma felt like she was caught in a whirlpool of anxiety. "I guess," she replied, the words slipping weakly from her lips. "Let us have fun with this. Remember, it's just coffee and art. It's our space," he encouraged, his eyes sparkling with belief. Yet, Emma couldn't shake the weight of her hesitations. Was there truly room for her voice? As they arranged the final touches, placing freshly brewed coffee on the counter, arranging pastries artfully on the display, and adjusting the lighting, Emma felt an urgent push to connect with the vision she had fought so hard to articulate. The open mic night was not just a showcase, it was designed to weave personal stories into each cup served. She glanced at her welcome speech, the pages creased and worn from countless revisions. That simple act of opening her heart to others had transformed from a daunting task into something profoundly personal, yet another layer of doubt swirled within her. With time ticking away, she took a deep breath and approached Jake, who was hanging a new painting. What if no one shows up? Or what if my speech falls flat? She fretted, her voice barely above a whisper. What if it goes better than you can imagine? He countered, stepping down from the ladder. You'd be surprised at how others respond when they feel a connection. Just be yourself, Emma. The sincerity in his tone struck a chord deep within her. Sure, he could be optimistic, but his unshakable belief mirrored her growing frustration at her own fear. Just be yourself, she muttered to herself as she stepped back from the ledge of her doubts momentarily. It was time to channel that small flicker of resolve she had felt the night before. Emma excused herself and found solitude in the back room, her chest tightening as she felt the weight of expectation. She folded the welcome speech in her hands and closed her eyes. Instead of memorizing each word, she envisioned the feeling she wanted to convey, an invitation for others to join her in a collective experience of creativity and vulnerability. Her hand trembling slightly, she began to scribble again on a fresh sheet of paper. Let us share stories, dreams, failures, and triumphs, because that is where our art truly lives. As the ink flowed freely, she felt the pulse of her own truth emerging, stronger than ever before. With renewed energy, Emma returned to the main space, pulse quickening as she recalled every artist she admired and every moment she had craved to experience herself. She wouldn't just be a host, she would be a facilitator for connection, creating a space where vulnerability became strength. As the crowd began to trickle in, her heart raced with excitement and fear. Emotions coiled together, forming a knot that refused to loosen, but she pressed on. Taking her place in front of the room, Emma felt the eyes of 100 hearts upon her, each one awaiting that first sound from her lips. She opened the night by sharing her own story, a narrative laced with uncertainty, courage, and hopes. The response was immediate, a wave of resonance ricocheted off the walls, sparking something unexpected within her. The night pulsated with energy as people bravely took to the microphone, sharing their talents and stories. Each vulnerable moment stitched the fabric of the gathering closer together. And yet, beneath that initial wave of elation, a sense of worry hovered. What would happen when the lights faded, and the final applause died down? Would her effort be recognized? Or would it slip into the shadows, much like her earlier hesitations? Would the collective energy fade away or thrive into something lasting? As she wrapped up the event, her mind raced with those unanswered questions, a growing uncertainty nagging at the edges of her success. Emma knew the night wasn't truly over, nor was her journey. Each high and low had become part of a larger narrative waiting to unfold. What would tomorrow's challenges reveal as she continued to traverse this path of self-discovery? Emma wandered through the cafe the following day, her mind still reeling from the previous night's experience. The warm aroma of roasting coffee hung in the air, but instead of feeling comforted, she found herself caught in a whirlwind of thoughts. The event had gone well, much better than she expected, but the afterglow of success was quickly being drowned out by fresh anxieties. While cleaning the tables, she recalled every moment from the night, each hesitant, heartfelt story shared, the laughter, the applause. Yet an ominous whisper threaded through her mind, questioning the significance of it all. Was it a flash in the pan? A temporary spark that would fizzle out quickly? She shook her head, denying the creeping uncertainty that threatened to engulf her. Her gaze drifted to the illustrious chalkboards lining the wall, each filled with quotes from famous artists and writers. In that moment, she felt an urge to write something new, a simple affirmation to fend off her growing trepidation. She picked up a piece of chalk, but the minute she started to scribble, her hand hesitated. The familiar feeling of inadequacy washed over her like a cold wave. Why was she so afraid of expressing herself? The words ached to flow, but she remained frozen, trapped between desire and self-doubt. "Good morning." Jake's voice broke through her internal battle. He was bright-eyed, exuding the kind of unpretentious enthusiasm that Emma once longed to embody. "How are you feeling after last night?" "Honestly, I don't know," Emma admitted, crossing her arms defensively. "It was exhilarating, but was it enough? Will people care about what I did?" "Of course they will," he encouraged. "You opened a door for connection. Many of those people walked through that door because your invitation resonated with them. Just look at all the art on the walls, every piece speaks a story. So do you." Emma pondered this, feeling the weight of his words pressing into her. "But will I keep them interested? Can I continue to inspire? Why don't you craft another experience?" Jake suggested, his smile brightening. "Expand on that momentum. Maybe a workshop, a themed night? You have the talent, Emma, but you have to embrace it." The glimmer of possibility ignited something within her. A workshop could be the bridge she needed, a way to bolster her confidence, but the sheer thought of planning and leading such an event felt daunting. The very fabric of her aspirations hinted at potential, yet simultaneously unraveled with the pressure of performance. What if nobody shows up? What if people don't think I'm qualified to lead? The air thickened with potential disappointment, and she bit down on her lip, struggling further with her internal narrative. "Emma, the only way to know is to take the leap," Jake replied, his sincerity surrounding her like a warm embrace. "Instead of seeing this as a mountain to climb, think of it as a step forward. You owe it to yourself to explore your own capabilities." That night, she lay awake, turning Jake's suggestion over in her head. She envisioned the possibilities: a workshop filled with laughter, an intimate space for creativity to flourish. Yet each time her excitement surged, the ever-looming self-doubt demanded equal airtime, sending chills up her spine. Driven to develop herself, Emma started to draft materials for the workshop. She sketched out a plan and identified themes she felt could lead to deep exploration. Finding your voice, art through authenticity. Each word felt empowering yet daunting. The internal conflict was a fierce tug of war, pulling her in opposing directions, imposter syndrome battling with ambition. As days turned into a week, Emma began to feel a shift. An inkling of clarity emerged alongside her confidence. Perhaps she didn't need to fit a traditional mold of a leader or creator, her uniqueness might hold the key to her growth. That thought became her anchor. But with each plan she laid down, a deeper uncertainty lingered. If she announced this workshop and it fell flat, would she be further exposed? Would what she built end up as a testament to her limitations rather than the triumph she envisioned? As she prepared to send out announcements, the tension coiling tightly within her morphed into a profound moment of truth. The room felt charged, an electrifying reminder of everything at stake, of how far she had come, and the deviation this new path could entail. It was time to let the veil drop. Emma pressed send, the thud of her heartbeat drowning out the fleeting echoes of self-doubt. But in the background of her thoughts, a new question loomed larger than all the others: what if the leap didn't lead to wings but a crash? The following day, the cafe buzzed with its usual morning energy, but Emma found herself submerged in a sea of anticipation. The announcement about her workshop had spread like wildfire through their community, and she could hardly process the myriad of responses. Each ping of her phone brought a new comment or question, but the warmth of excitement quickly seared into a daunting pressure. As she stood behind the counter, pouring a cup of coffee, she rehearsed her materials in her mind. The theme was crafted from her own journey: the struggle, the vulnerability, the beauty of finding one's voice. Yet, the vision felt fragile, as if a single gust of air could sweep it away. What if her stories faltered? What if her voice wavered? In the midst of steaming milk, her heart raced, a drum echoing the conflict swelling inside her. "Emma!" Jake called, breaking through her spiraling thoughts. "You look like you're about to fly off the edge of the earth. What is going on?" She forced a smile, but her thoughts savored a myriad of worries. "I'm just thinking about the workshop. I feel overwhelmed." "To be expected," he said, leaning against the counter effortlessly. "You're taking a huge step. But you've already made a connection with people. Just be genuine, it doesn't get any better than that." His words flicked a switch within her. He was right. It was in those moments of authenticity that her voice rang truest. Yet fear lingered, cautious and patient, just on the periphery, waiting for a moment of weakness to grip her spirit again. As the evening approached, Emma busied herself with final preparations. She arranged materials, set the lighting to a soft glow, and even created a welcoming atmosphere with eclectic decor from her previous art pieces. Yet, even as she busied her hands with the tangible, her mind soared into the realm of self-doubt. Would anyone really show up? The clock inched closer to the event time, and she paced the space back and forth, her feet carrying a rhythm born of anxiety. With 10 minutes to go, she was still alone, just her reflection staring back at her from the window. Emma closed her eyes, breathing in deeply. She sought a moment of reassurance. It came from Jake's earlier encouragement and the laughter shared during her last event. She wanted to bring that energy back, she craved it. The door swung open, and a small trickle of attendees wandered in, each wearing expressions imbued with curiosity. Emma's heart trembled between excitement and apprehension. She welcomed them, fervently dialing down the apprehensions that bubbled within her. "Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me," she began, taking a deep breath. "Tonight, we're going to explore." Her confidence, shaky at first, began to find its footing. There was a rhythm to sharing her thoughts, her vulnerability weaving a tapestry that resonated with those around her. Every question posed by attendees felt like a gift, a chance for connection. As the workshop progressed, Emma found herself elaborating on her experiences, sometimes funny, sometimes painful, and the laughter that erupted was a balm for her growing fears. She was not merely speaking, she was engaging, and slowly the energy transformed into a vibrant exchange of ideas. Yet, amidst the flow of creativity, a nagging voice presented a different perspective. What if she woke up tomorrow, and none of this mattered? What if tonight was just an illusion? A fragile mirage that would vanish at dawn? Just as her enthusiasm reached a crescendo, she paused, confronting this new wave of doubt. Emma reminded herself that her journey wasn't linear, it was made of moments, some glorious, some daunting. The workshop ended with attendees exchanging stories of their own, sharing their vulnerability, their dreams, just as Emma had opened her heart. She flashed a grateful smile, her thoughts racing with the weight of realization. Perhaps this leap had, indeed, brought wings, or maybe something different, hope. As the evening faded and her company dispersed, she lingered behind, a gaping sense of wonder nestled inside her. However, the question nagged as she returned to the now empty cafe: how would she nurture this newfound growth? Just when the cafe door swung shut, an unexpected stranger stepped in, eyes shimmering with anticipation. "I heard about what you did tonight. I think I was meant to be here." Emma paused, a jolt of electricity surging through her. What opportunity lay ahead? What walls would this new visitor crack open in her journey? Emma stood behind the counter once again, the familiar hum of Maplewood coffee filling her ears, yet today felt remarkably different. The weight of her past doubts and fears transformed into a lightning of spirit, buoyed by recent accomplishments. The night of her workshop had ignited a spark of confidence she had scarcely believed possible. Each interaction with the attendees had reinforced her inherent value, not just as a barista but as an artist with a voice deserving to be heard. She reflected on that evening. It had been a catalyst for growth, a moment in time when she not only shared her narrative but invited others to unfold their stories, too. It marked a significant breakthrough in her personal journey. Gone was the timid girl hiding behind a counter, replaced by a creative force committed to establishing a space where both she and others could flourish. Days turned into weeks, and she had steadily built a series of workshops, garnering not just participation but enthusiasm. Every session offered a fresh canvas, a chance for discovery, for shared vulnerability. Emma reveled in seeing others awaken their own creativity, while her confidence blossomed in tandem. One afternoon, while preparing for yet another workshop, she received an unexpected text from Jake. "How about a coffee meeting with someone important?" The message read. Intrigued, Emma agreed, her heart fluttering with curiosity. When they met, Jake revealed that he'd spoken with a local art collective interested in collaborating with the cafe. "They love the community aspect you've built, and they want to feature your work during an art weekend," he said, his admiration evident in his tone. "This isn't just a sidebar, Emma, this is recognition." Emma's heart soared. This was not merely an opportunity but a recognition of her growth and creativity, a culmination of everything she had fought for. Her hands trembled as she acknowledged the enriching experience that had unfolded before her. "I didn't think anything like this could happen. I never pictured myself as someone who could showcase my art. But I guess that's what taking risks can do," she replied, her voice steady yet filled with awe. Jake nodded, pride sparkling in his eyes. "You've earned this. The workshops, the connections, you've built a community. Keep pushing boundaries." As the days turned into intensive preparations for the showcase, Emma embraced the excitement and responsibility. She dedicated herself to curating her artwork, melding her experiences into pieces that spoke to her journey, the agonies and ecstasies that shaped her path to empowerment. When the event day arrived, Emma stood nervously in front of a sea of familiar faces. Surrounded by vibrant art and community laughter, she felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment wash over her. Here she was, an artist whose voice had unequivocally resonated, not just through her creations but within the hearts of everyone who had gathered to celebrate creativity. Taking a deep breath, she spoke. "I stand here not just as an artist, but as someone who learned to face fears and embrace vulnerabilities. This space has become a reflection of all of you as much as it is of me." What unfolded was a merging of hope, creativity, and connection, the very essence of what she had yearned to cultivate. The applause, the laughter, and the authentic human connection filled her with a solid confidence she had never known before. Emma had conquered her fears, pursued her art relentlessly, and turned a whimsical dream into a vibrant reality. She had not only established her position within her own narrative, she had become a beacon for others, proof that embracing one's voice could inspire transformation. As the sun set over Maplewood, casting a warm glow on the walls adorned with her art, Emma knew she had fully arrived. She was no longer just a shy girl serving coffee. She was an accomplished artist and a leader of a thriving community centered on creativity and expression. Now, more than ever, was the time to encourage others to follow their dreams, to push their boundaries, and to share their stories. It was time to open doors and invite new voices into the conversation. So to you, dear audience, if you believe in the power of transformation and creativity, subscribe immediately to join this journey of personal overcoming and emotional stories. Leave a like now to help amplify these essential narratives for others seeking inspiration. Comment your thoughts and reactions. We want to hear how these stories resonate with you. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the magic of pursuing their dreams. You need to show your support for these bold narratives now more than ever. Don't wait even one more second. Let's lift each other up through the power of storytelling.